नहीं नहीं नहीं, ये वर्क हो रहा है, मुझे वो वाला आईपैड लेके आ जाओ मेरा। Good morning. So how many of you have made a decision related to the optional already? Already? Raise your hands completely. Okay. These many people have already made the decision. Yes? Okay, what about the rest of the people? How many of you have two optionals on mind? Okay, two optionals on mind. He raised the hand for one decision also, two decisions also. Huh? Okay. And how many of you have not made decision at all? Like, we'll see later. ठीक है. Okay. I'll give you some tips to select an optional. I'll not actually tell you to choose a particular optional. Okay. I'll give you the pros and cons of most of the optionals. Okay. And we'll base our judgment on the report of UPSC only. All right. So it's not going to be on the basis of something else. It's going to be on the basis of UPSC report. Every year UPSC releases a report, annual report. But it was in 2020, last time they had given the report related to optional selection only. Like how many people choose the optional, which optional they have chosen, and what is the success rate in each of those optionals. So this was given in 2020-21 fiscal. After that they have not released such data. Okay. Before that they used to release the data. So based on all that information, so we can infer something about the optionals. We can do some analysis about it. So there was a point in time people used to talk about whether optional is going to be there or not. Okay. So 2011, 12, during that time there came a report. There was a Baswan committee. That committee gave a report stating that UPSC examination, that is civil services examination, has to become a a level playing field. In order to make it a level playing field, everybody should have what? Same subjects. Right? If the subject is varying, the people who evaluate will be different. Okay, the difficulty level of the papers will be different. That happens now also. As in, say for example, some years, it's like targeting one particular subject. That happens every year. Say for example, one year geography is too difficult. One particular year public administration was too difficult in 2011-12. Very, very difficult. After that they toned down the difficulty level. And 2012 was the year psychology was difficult beyond any measure. Right? And then anthropology and political science have not been made difficult so far. Okay. You never know uska number kab aayega. Right? You never know that. So see, sir, when do they do it? Is there any chance we can predict about it? So you can make only a prediction on the basis of how many people are taking the optional. Like if most of the people are taking one particular optional, UPSC thinks that why are all these people taking this particular optional? Let me reduce the number. What about the other optionals? They have to choose other optionals also, na? Say for example, you have done your masters in let's say geography or some other subject you have done, and instead of taking geography or any other subject related to your graduation, post graduation, you are coming and choosing let's say anthropology, and everybody is choosing anthropology. Now UPSC thinks, why are people doing like this? Maybe the paper I am setting, that is UPSC is setting, probably is sending a wrong signal to the people, and that is why they are choosing. Let me change it. Okay. So based on all these things, we'll learn some pros and cons of every other subject. Now people who are thinking of literature, anybody who is thinking of literature as an optional, raise your hands. Literature as an optional, literature subject, language. language and literature. That is your Kannada, Telugu, Tamil, Malayalam, anyone? Online people, anyone? Yes? No? No one? You don't have an idea that literature is an optional? Huh? Okay. Before you make any decision related to your optional subject, even that is counted, no? So basically you have a total of 40 plus 45 plus subjects. Okay, you have a total of 45 plus subjects. Out of these, 22 plus 1, stylus is not here, stylus, 22 plus 1 are literature subjects. 22 plus 1 in the sense 22 Indian languages, English, plus English, you have 23 total. So out of 23, which are the best optionals? As in, 23 literature subjects are there, sir, which can I choose, which one is better? Generally it is an understanding that barring English and Hindi, remaining 21, if it is your mother tongue or if you are very comfortable with that subject, say for example somebody is from Andhra Pradesh, they know Telugu really well, they can go ahead with Telugu literature as an optional, provided there are some 3 boxes you have to tick. So what are the 3 boxes? Absolute 0 mistakes when it comes to spellings, absolute 0 mistakes when it comes to grammar, and writing speed almost equivalent to that of English. Sir, why equivalent to that of English? It is difficult to write, it is your headache. Okay, so you have to write at the speed of English. It means probably 250 words there, you have to write 250 words here as well. So as far as I see it, no language, no Indian language is as easy to write as what? English. It takes more effort. Any language you take, it takes more effort. But if you have the practice, I think it is possible to write. It is possible to write if you have practice. Okay. Now, before you select any optional you think of, please make sure that you read at least 1 or 2 chapters. So optionals are going to start next week. Before that, you read at least 1 or 2 chapters. See, it does not matter what your friend is taking. Hardly weekly 3 hours you have to stay away from your friends, right? 4 plus 4 plus 4, 12 hours. You have to stay away from your friends. Do not make a decision on the basis of what your friends are doing. Do not base your decisions on what your seniors say or what your teachers say also. Make a decision on your own. I am telling you why you should make your decision, because you will have a sense of responsibility. You will always hold yourself responsible. This is the optional I have chosen. It doesn't matter what, I have to put the effort to learn it. That does not happen when you choose an optional on the basis of other factors. When you choose an optional on the basis of other factors, you always have this inclination to point fingers at others, saying that, it is not me who selected because that person said I selected. This particular optional is boring. And trust me, every optional will turn boring at some point. Because of the depth, right? Because of the depth. Until and unless you are very interested in that particular subject, it cannot be boring, but I can be sure of this fact. Out of all the chapters you study, there will be at least 2-3 chapters will be boring, any subject you take, right? So first thing, any subject you choose, before choosing, if you have not decided it, study at least 1 chapter or 2 chapters from that optional subject. Sir, from where to study? You can study from either IGNOU material, right? IGNOU BA, BSc, MA, MSc material. From that 1 chapter, random chapter you select. Either IGNOU or NCERT, class 11, class 12. This is applicable for PSI are related, and then it is applicable for even your sociology, psychology. For anthropology, you don't have anything related to it in your NCERT, okay. But for these three subjects, you have NCERTs. You can select random chapters. Do not study the introduction chapter. Introduction chapters will always be good, okay. We'll always love them. But read a chapter somewhere in the middle, random chapter you select, okay. See how you feel. Based on that, you make a decision, okay. The first and the foremost factor to consider is your interest in the subject, nothing else. All the other things become, secondary factors, if you ask me. All the others, secondary factors. So, why optional is so important? How many marks for optional? So, you have a total of 500 marks for optional. So, 250, 250, 2 papers. You know the scheme of the mains paper, how will it be? The mains examination paper as an optional paper, how will it be? This is paper A, okay. This is paper B, or paper 1 and paper 2, 2 papers. And in each of the paper, you have section A, section B, section A, section B. You have a total of 4 questions in each section. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. Same thing is applicable for paper 2 also. This is how you get your optional paper. Out of these 8 questions, you are supposed to answer 5. Okay, you are supposed to answer 5. But the condition is question number 1 and question number 5 are compulsory. Done? So, question number 1 and question number 5 are compulsory. Now, each question will carry 50 marks basically. That's how it is, right? Each question will carry 50 marks. Sir, how will it be? One question 50 marks? No. Under each question, in the first question usually, you have 5 subparts. In the 5th question also, you have 5 subparts. Basically 5 sub questions. In all the others, you have 3 questions, 3 questions, 3 questions, or sometimes 2, 3, right? But total marks will be 50. Same here, 2 or 3 questions, sub questions, 2 or 3 sub questions. Now, compulsorily you have to attend 1 or 5. Now, remaining, can you attend 3 from here? No, you can't attend 3 from here. There is a rule, from each section you have to attend at least 2. At least 2 from each section. Now, compulsorily 1 and 5 are compulsory. Now, you have to attend 2 from here, maximum 2 you can attend, and 1 more you have to select from this one, or 2 you attend here and 1 you have to select from this one. This is how the scheme of the paper is for optionals. Now, of all these questions that are there, one thing that will cross your mind is, sir, can I skip some of the chapters which are very difficult for me, which are somewhat boring for me, I have not studied well? Is there that chance to skip something? Optional does not allow that room. Why? Because they cover almost all the chapters in 1 and 5 itself. 10 markers will be there, 5 10 markers, here 5, 10 questions. In these 10 questions, they will cover almost all the chapters. So, you can't skip a chapter. So, you are supposed to be equally good in almost all the chapters. Yes? But there is one key to, being successful in your optional paper. That key is your PYQs. This holds the key. No matter what any other person says, don't listen. Pay attention to PYQs, because there is a way of asking questions by UPSC. They have some select areas which they consider very, very important. They keep asking questions from those areas itself. They are going to rephrase the question. They are going to paraphrase the questions every now and then. But the answer will almost remain the same because they are asking from the same area. So PYQs, sir, how many years? You are in the year 2024. 10 years prior to this. 10 years of PYQs. It is not just about looking at these, you have to write answers to them. You have to write answers to them. So, how many questions you will get? 8 plus 8. 16 questions per year you get. How many years? Huh? So, it is actually not more than 16. You have sub questions. So, basically we will say 9 plus 5, 14, right? 14 plus 14, 28 questions every year from one paper. Another 28 from another paper. Total 56. 560 questions related to optional. Tell me a better, way to prepare for optional. Right? People run behind test series for this. I will say test series is useful once you are done with this. You should be done with this part. As in, whether you are looking at the source and writing the answers, or you have closed the sources and then written the answer, it does not matter. First, get this thing done. After that, take a test series, right? Take a test series as in write 4 or 5 papers, it is sufficient. But reaching these 560 mark is not so easy. Think about it, 560 questions, preparing answers for them. Yes, you get this thing done, and after that probably 1 year's paper, probably 2013 year paper itself you take it as a test. That is more than sufficient, especially related to optional. Okay. So this is the rule for any optional you choose. Sir, what about current affairs? What if they have asked about current affairs? How many questions will they ask about current affairs? Even if they ask about the current affairs, you will be aware of it. Always remember this, any question, if it is related to current affairs, hardly 25% of it, in best case scenario, 25% of the content will be related to current affairs. Remaining 75% will be static, will be from you have to write from the textbook itself. So, do not run behind current affairs only and do not lose touch with the books. Understood? Same is applicable for your, your optional as well. You just have a look at your optional papers. They might mention, say for example in psychology, they had mentioned, how is, your Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, right? A success because of, how does psychology help make a scheme successful? Swachh Bharat became successful because of some behavioral psychology. Now they have asked this question, you have to explain. But first of all, you have to know what is behavioral psychology, right? Without knowing it, you will not be able to answer. You know about Swachh Bharat. You can't write pointers related to Swachh Bharat. They are not asking about Swachh Bharat. Remember, they are asking about the theory behind Swachh Bharat, which is again in the books. This you have to be very, very clear. Okay? It's not about current affairs, it's about the static, what is there in the books. That is more important. Okay? Now, importance of optional is, first thing is because of 500 marks, the weightage. The second thing that is important about optional is the delta. That is the difference it makes. Sir, what is this delta? Say for example, for optional you prepare only in the main examination. Most of the people, prepare for this, optional paper. Probably after they complete their prelims examination, once they become comfortable about it, then they put all the efforts towards optional. They have completed the course, they have studied once, but they have not prepared as in answer writing, nothing has been done so far. They start after the prelims examination, because of which their hold on the optional subject will be relatively lesser. Because their hold is lesser, the scores that you get in optional subject vary greatly. As in, a person who has not prepared well for your optional may score as low as, out of 250, as low as 40 out of 250, and as high as almost 190, 200. What is the difference? Almost 150, 160 marks difference per paper can be there. Where? In optional. Compare it with GS 1, 2, 3, 4. This is true for essay as well. Out of 250, some people score 30 in essay. But it will not go as high as 200 in essay, it will go as high as 140, 150. 140 is a very good score in essay. So it does not reach 200. Optional has the ability to reach 200 as well. Okay. Now, this delta, GS 1, 2, 3, 4, how much will the delta be? This difference, highest score and lowest score. It will not be much. You know why? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3 especially, people have already prepared for prelims examination. Everybody who comes to the main examination, they already know these subjects, because they have prepared for GS1 in prelims. So history, geography, polity, economy, environment, they know it already. That's what is there in GS 1, 2, 3. In these subjects, the delta will be as low as 30, 20 marks. As in, the least score can be 70, 75. High score, highest score can be probably 110, 115. That happens with 1, 2, 3. You can't make much of a difference. Where? In these subjects. Ethics, you can make some difference. Optional, maximum difference you can make. That is why people who score maximum in optional has a very high chance of clearing the main examination. Optional and your essay paper. Whosoever does well in these two papers, there is a very high chance they are going to get through. Right? Sir, what about ethics paper? Ethics paper, yes, to an extent. But delta is higher than these. You can make difference there as well. But these two subjects, your optional and essay, they will hold the key in your main examination. These two. Together, they make up 750 marks. Right? Total 750 marks. Sir, what about essay? What should we do? Essay, you will not be able to master it until and unless you are good with some of your GS subjects as well. So you should be knowing a bit of history, you should be knowing a bit of, polity, economy, environment. So until and unless you know a bit of these subjects, I think creating content for your essay is difficult. It's difficult. And after you get the content, it's mostly about practice. So there will be a few classes. After that, it's mostly about practice and evaluations. Practice as in every week you should have a, sort of a schedule. Like every Friday, I am going to write one essay. Whenever there is a test, I will write the test, essay test. So this should be your normal routine, because that investment you are going to make towards these two subjects, return will be more. There is a guaranteed return here. Here, there is no guaranteed return. In these three subjects, there is no guaranteed return as such. Okay, why? Because everybody will be performing to an extent pretty good itself. Okay, fine. This is about the importance of the optional. Now, what UPSC has done is it has divided all these optionals into different sections. The first section it has is engineering section. This is the first section. How many of you are engineers here? Good. How many of you are choosing engineering as an optional? Which engineering? Civil. Civil engineering. Yeah. So you have civil, you have mechanical and electrical. No electronics. Electronics and communication is not there. Electrical engineering only. These are the oldest engineering subjects, right? These are called the core engineering subjects, and you have these three as optionals. Now, the rules applicable for these three optionals along with the subjects I am going to mention now, right, is the same. The next set of optionals UPSC mentions is medical science related. The next set is related to medical science. So here you have animal husbandry and veterinary science, animal husbandry and veterinary sciences, and then you have medical science. Okay. So this is the next set, and the next set is related to science, proper sciences it mentions. Here you have physics, chemistry, math, botany, zoology, agri-science, agriculture sciences, okay, and then you have statistics, yeah, you have statistics, zoology, oh, zoology is done, geology, okay. So these many are your sciences according to UPSC. The thing about all these subjects, the rule remains the same. The rule is you get the scores in binary terms. Either you get full marks or you get no marks. It's as simple as you can be completely right or you are wrong. There is no room for partially right, partially wrong. Okay, because these are more like sciences, right? These are sciences. You can't say instead of liver you have written heart, right? Instead of esophagus you have written intestine. It cannot be correct at all. It's impossible. Instead of 3, sir, I forgot, I wrote 4. Yes, it cannot be right. So these are sciences. That is why the scores are like this. Here, that is why people who get ranks using these optionals, they will be usually high rankers. If they get a rank, it's going to be a very good rank. If not, you can't find them below, probably after 200, 300, you can't find their names. They will be within 300 or after 300 they will not be seen, generally. So their concentration is mostly in the top 200, 300. Why? Because they have done well in their optional and scores are very, very high. Say for example in math, people score as high as 210 sometimes in one paper. It also happens like this. In one paper they have scored 210, another paper they have scored only 40, because all the things they have done is wrong in second paper. Yes, this happens with what? Sciences. Now, who should choose these as optional? People who are very, very confident about their graduation, post-graduation background. Very, very confident. And sir, what about the sources? Sources, you just have to first look at PYQs again. Have a look at PYQs. See where you stand with respect to PYQs related to these subjects. Any subject you choose, PYQs you look at it. For these subjects, generally it is difficult to find, classes, right? You don't find coaching institutes for these generally. For these, you can find IES institutions. Indian engineering service institutions, they teach these. And related to these, generally, students are supposed to get help from one of their, college professors maybe. They can get the help from there. And PYQs, when you look at it, if you are already comfortable with 60% of the questions, then I think you can go ahead with it. Presently, you should be knowing 60% of the questions, not the questions, answers to the questions actually. Right? You should feel like, okay, if I study once, I'll be able to answer. If you are in a position to say that about 60%, another 40% you can practice, you can learn. So this is about your sciences. Anyone, anything to ask about these? Anybody choosing any of these options apart from that person? Which is the one? Zoology and botany. That is for forest service as well, right? Zoology. Zoology. Okay. Anyone else? Agriculture science. Okay. Anyone else? That's all. Apart from the literature, no one. Not even a single person. Why? Literature is a good bet. That is why I first ask about literature itself. Because it's a good bet in the sense that, especially when you choose an optional from your own state, right? Language related to your own state. Say for example, somebody chooses Assamese. Hardly very few people will have written. Say Assamese, there will be some 5-6 people who have written the main examination. Many people write the prelims, but people who clear will be very less, and who have cleared, amongst them who choose literature as an optional will be much lesser. So 5-6 people take Assamese. Now if I am the evaluator, I am evaluating Assamese, my thinking will be, at least let one person get through. 2-3 marks here and there I can push. See, I may not do it intentionally, but we are humans at the end of the day. Yes, we'll always have that subjectivity involved in evaluation. Now for example, you chose English literature. I am evaluating. I have some 100 papers or even 10 papers even. I can't prefer one paper over the other because all are equal to me, because I don't know where this person is coming from. English literature, Hindi, same thing. So Hindi is spoken in many states. You can't clearly tell where this person is from while evaluating. But with literature optionals, especially related to regional languages, you will have probably some 2-3 marks or 4-5 marks edge. That's always there. Provided you should not choose a literature optional on the basis of these 4-5 marks. Right? Out of 500, 4-5 marks I am telling. You should not be, I'll have a edge, sir has told, I will choose literature as an optional, you don't know to write literature. Okay? So that should not be the scenario. So anybody who has scored, let's say out of 100, anybody who has scored 95 plus in your 10th standard even, 10th, 12th standard, 95 plus in which one? In that language paper. These many people, and you are not confident about the language. Which is the language you are talking about?
I took Telugu, but doesn't matter how much. I can't be better in Telugu than English because we are taught English from our childhood itself, so we can't be better in our regional language. We practice more than English. Therefore, English medium, we cannot practice the regional language much as English.
But you scored good, no?
The paper is also like that only.
Paper was also like that only. Generally what happens is, when it comes to your optional paper, your literature paper, the first paper will be generally easy, as in it will be mostly related to your grammar, right, the history of the literature of that particular subject, that particular language, and it will be mostly static. The first paper is generally easy for the literature subjects, as in when you prepare the notes for that particular literature subject, no, it will not run into more than 120, 130 pages if you prepare the notes properly. Within that 130 pages itself, you will get the questions. But the main challenge there would be to write an answer within the time period. So for that you need practice. Whereas the second paper is vast. Second paper is generally related to your works related to that literature. So there will be the older script. Yes. So in most of the languages, you have some Puranas, some older texts written by people, some poets, some writers. So that becomes an issue for most of the students. So the second paper. But some people, they're able to manage, even if they don't know, they'll be able to manage. Some of the coaching classes, what they do is they clearly know as to where the questions come from. Say for example, you might have had this, no, Tatparya Likhiye, right? Say for example, it will be in an old language, older script. For that you have to give the meaning, you have to write the meaning. They used to give 4 stanzas, right? So you have to write the meaning of it in your own language, the normal language. So they know it. People who teach, they would be knowing it. And sometimes, if you are very fortunate, you go to the classes, the person who is teaching, who is a very old person maybe, literature especially, these people will be in those boards related to paper setting as well. Right? That's an added advantage for some subjects only, right? For some literature subjects. Now, because none of you are interested in literature related stuff, we'll go ahead with the next part. Humanities is where most of the people fall. Humanities. Set A, set B. There are 2 sets. Humanities A, Humanities B. Two sets UPSC has created. In Humanities A, you have history, anthropology, and then you have geography, philosophy, psychology, and sociology. This you have in set A, that is Humanities A. This is according to UPSC. This classification is all according to UPSC only. Humanities B, you have commerce and accountancy. There was one more in sciences, that is statistics. Okay, in sciences there was one more, statistics, that you can add. Commerce and accountancy, law, management, economics, public administration, and political science and international relations. You have these many. If you ask me, sir, is there any optional in this which is a no-go? That is, never take this optional. If you ask me, I'll mark out 2. These 2. This is a no-go zone, at least according to me. Until and unless the government has stopped, you can start the 5-year plans. The government has stopped in 2017, now you can start. 5-year plan you can start with these optionals. Okay? Sir, why are you saying like this? So negative, sir. Negative, nahi. The subjects are like that. As in, they are so vast. First thing, it is, those subjects are very vast. Until and unless you have done your masters, you have a doctorate in this, PhD you have done, then you go ahead with it. Otherwise, no. Sincerely, no, because you may feel comfortable with it. You may think, sir, it is going to be useful for me in general studies as well. True, sir. But then the kind of questions they ask, it's completely different. Right? It's completely different. They are too complex to answer. So, these are the two no-go. Anybody who had thought about history and geography? Anybody? Okay, glad. I'm glad. Right? So, these two, no. Out of these, which are, I would say, technical in nature. There are some of the subjects which are technical in nature. This you cannot choose on the basis of your whims. Like, sir, I feel like I like this subject, I will choose it. That you can't do. In relation to this, and this, as also this. You can eliminate these as well. Eliminate in the sense, on the basis of feeling you can't take this. Feeling like, sir, economics I was studying, it is very interesting. I'll choose that as an optional. That you can't do. What you study in economics, general studies is far, far different from what you study in the optional. Very, very different. What you study is just the tip of an iceberg in general studies. Remember that. It is just the tip of an iceberg. Right? So, what you are supposed to study is like a mountain. So, there is one particular chapter called microeconomics. Right? There is a text called microeconomics in your class 11, 12, right? Before choosing economics as an optional, people who have studied economics, even if you have studied economics, once you open the text and see if it makes sense to you. If you feel like it is not making any sense to me, drop it. Drop the idea of economics as an optional. Okay? So, economics, it's a good optional, by the way, it's a good optional. It is a technical optional, but it is a good optional for people who have a hold on it already. It's a good optional because the success is good. The success rate is good in this. Which one? Economics. Again, when I say success rate is good, good for those people who have a background, not for everyone. Okay? Sir, what about management? Management, commerce and accountancy, I don't think it is cup of tea for everyone. People who have done their graduation, for them it is fine. Law also, it's the same thing. Okay? What is remaining is what you have on your plate, where you can do some selection. Sir, there were 40 plus, you have brought it down to how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have made life easier for you. The moment we say 40 plus, you'll always start thinking, oh, these many optionals are there, which one to choose? When you have 6, life becomes a bit more easier. So, there is a problem of plenty, right? It's the problem of plenty. All right. So, we'll check each one of these optionals. The success rates of each of these, the pros and cons of each of these optionals. People who have already made a decision, it does not matter for you guys. Okay, for other people, it matters. So, I'll just give you an idea about success rate. The highest success rate was of animal husbandry and veterinary sciences. 16 people appeared, 3 people got selected. The success rate is 18.8. That is the highest. 18.8 is the highest. The lowest is statistics. 2 people appeared, 0 people got selected. 2 people chose means optional as statistics, 0 people selected. Now, if you consider on the other hand, sir, this is all very less numbers, right? Very less number of people have attempted. This I am talking about 2019-2020, okay, that year, success rate. If we consider only the optional, which has been taken by more than 50 students, let's say, or more than, let's say, 100 students, Then we will check the success rate. So, for example, you have commerce and accountancy, 183 people had chosen. 183 people wrote main examination with which one? Commerce and accountancy as an optional. Out of these, 20 people got selected. 20. Which is almost 10.9% success. Okay. Is it good or bad? It is good. It is really good. Okay. And then you have economics. 243 people choose economics as an optional. Again, even in this, it is 10+% success rate. So there were a total of 26 selections in this. 26 people got selected. So this is the second best performer, 100 plus mein. And then you have agriculture, 124 people. Success rate for this was 10.5%, 13 people got selected. 10+%. And then I will talk about the highest ones, let's say, highest number of people choosing a particular optional. Sociology, 1263 people, 1263 people. These many people chose sociology as an optional. Out of these, 126 people got selected, which is 10% success, which is very, very good. This I am talking about 2019, 2020. It keeps varying, right? Remember, it keeps varying. And then you have anthropology, 1189 people. Even for this, the success rate was 9.1%, which is 108 people. 9%. 108 people got selected in this. Now, which is the other optional you need? PSIR, 1662 people. PSIR, 1662 people. Highest. Of all the options, this, no, there is one more. The optional which I spoke of not to take, geography, 1916 people. These are all veterans, right? So you will be sitting next to them, you feel like, these are all the people who have come for invigilation. No, they are also writing exam. Okay. Right. So PSIR, 137 people got selected, 137, which is 8.2%. Sir, what about geography? What about geography? 105 people got selected, which is 5.5% success. Now tell me about it. Half. Why? Because of the nature of the subjects. And then you have one more, history, 751 people, success rate is 6.5%. History. So this is all for 1 year I am talking about, just to give you a rough idea. So we'll take the average of all the years, right? Next, when we take up each subject, we'll talk about it. And then you have psychology is available here. I'll tell you about psychology. 164 people chose it. 15 people got selected, which is again 9.1%, 9.1, 9.2%. That is psychology. And then you have philosophy, 439. I'll tell you about philosophy. 439 people chose philosophy as an optional. Why do people choose philosophy as, sir, do you think all these people have actually studied philosophy at some point, maybe? No. For them, some of the people are like, some of the students are like, sir, philosophy, I think it will suit me. and then they have chosen philosophy as an optional. You may suit it, but it will not suit you. Philosophy, these many people, 400, I don't believe that this optional can be taken by so many people, but wrongly they have chosen it, just thinking that it will suit them. So they have searched everything. Philosopher, who are the philosophers? Philosophers are the people who are very brainy. People think that I will also become very brainy. They have chosen. And 439 people, the success rate is 6%.
Sir, doesn't philosophy help in answering ethics and other subjects too,
It helps, but at the same time there is a problem, na? The cost of choosing philosophy as an optional. What is the cost of choosing philosophy as an optional? You may get few marks in ethics and essay paper. So second part of essay you may get some marks. What you lose in the optional is going to be very, very huge. That is why you have to be careful about philosophy as an optional. Okay, that is why I tell you, even if you are choosing philosophy, it's fine, but before choosing random chapters. Random chapters, you read them. If it makes sense to you, then choose. Otherwise, don't. Okay. So first, we will start with. Which one will we start with? Which subject we will start with? You want anthropology, PSIR, psychology, public administration? Which one do you want me to start with? Sociology. Okay, wonderful. So many people for sociology, I guess. Huh? Sociology. So we'll go with the pros, cons, and then the success rate. Success rate average of last few years. Okay. So success rate from 2012 to 2020. Udhar tak. After that we don't have the report given by UPSC. So after that also you'll get some reports. On what basis? On what basis do you get the reports? There will be some forums. Students have posted. They have compiled. On the basis of that they have derived a success rate. That is not how it works. It should be solid data. Right? Solid data is available only with UPSC. Okay. First we will start with pros of sociology. The first thing is easy to understand. First thing, easy to understand. So why is it easy to understand? It is easy to understand because it is relatively or highly relatable. It's a highly relatable subject. When I say highly relatable, when we take up a concept in sociology, when you are talking about it, you feel like, I already know it. Right? You get that sense of, acquaintance. Like if I talk about family, okay, family, I say hota hai, kinship, okay, you get an understanding. So you get a clear understanding of the concepts. So it's easy to understand, highly relatable. Why? Because something that is happening in your society, you know about all the issues. This is a first advantage. Second, there has been a stability in the nature of questions. Nature of questions have been stable in this optional. As in, the areas from where the questions are being asked, that has remained relatively stable over the years. They don't pick new areas and ask a very big question from there. So big questions, there are some areas, small questions, there are some areas, they are sticking to that. So that is why PYQs become important. So stability in the nature of questions, this is the second thing. Thirdly, there are some areas where you can do some rote learning as well. Some rote learning can also happen, that is memorization. Even if you don't understand something, learn that entire page and leave it, you can use it later. Right? As in, if you don't understand something, you can, memorize it. Right? So you can do rote learning and use it later. That is possible in this particular subject. And finally, how useful is it for your general studies? The areas which is going to help is society and social justice. Society in your GS1, social justice in GS2. Apart from this, is there anywhere else you get the help of sociology as an optional? Essay. Apart from this, anywhere else? Ethics. Chapter 1, last topic. Chapter 1, last topic. So that's where you get the help. So this is about your sociology pro. You have these many advantages. Now, what are the cons of sociology? Current affairs. Sir, why is it a con? Dynamism of the paper. So current affairs related content, you should have it on your fingertips. So a question has been asked, something that has happened in India recently, you should be able to recall and put it in the answer. Societal issues, they should be on your fingertips. Okay, this is one. Two, many times, because the subject is easy to understand, one concept to another when you go, you feel like you are learning the same thing again. So you feel like you are beating around the bush. This you feel about some concepts, because you have already learnt it. Again, it's like the same thing. You feel that because you already know something. Society related, you already know something. Again, it is being taught in the class or you are learning from the book, you feel like, what is this? I know it already. Why am I reading it again? That feeling. Say for example, marriage related topic is there. You already know everything about the marriage. Again, you are reading the same thing. You feel like, why should it be there in the textbook? Everybody knows it. That you feel related to some concepts. And then, it suits you only when you are a creative writer. You have to be a creative writer. Sir, why creative writer? Why creative writer? When so many people are taking it as an optional. If I have 5 papers, all people have understood the concepts in the same manner and everybody will be writing the answer in the same manner. Same points they have written. But if you are a creative writer, you will be able to present the same points in a different manner. There your answer will stand out. If you are able to achieve that fiat, good enough. So for this, you have to be a bit of a creative writer. So you should be able to present the answers in a better manner every time. So that is the other con. Whenever there are opinionated questions, especially in sociology, there can be a problem with relation to ideology, ideological differences. Ideological differences. With whom? With the evaluator. With the evaluator. you have given your opinion that migration is not such a good thing, or immigration, we should not provide asylum, right? You have written something. That does not go well with the invigilator maybe, evaluator maybe. He might feel bad. The room for creating this rift between the person who has written the answer and the evaluator is higher in opinionated questions, that is called ideological difference can come. And the problem with this creation of ideological differences, even if in one answer you have given an opinion which is completely against what the evaluator is thinking, it is going to have an impact on the rest of the evaluation. Rest of the paper, he will be thinking, this guy, he has written something like this, this person is not good. That is going to have an impact throughout the paper. So you have to be very, very careful when you give opinions. Be very careful when you give opinions in this particular paper. Okay, these are the cons. Pros, cons, done. Now comes the success rate. How successful this optional has been. 2012, see, all throughout 2012 there were 2,500 people who wrote this as an optional. 2,500 people wrote this as an optional. But then you have to remember 2012 में दो optional थे. Right? People had to choose two optionals. After that, when it was made one optional, since then the number of people who are choosing this optional has been more than 1,500 in a year. 1,500 plus people who are choosing it. 2019-20 se it has come down to 1,300 around. Number of people choosing sociology as an optional. So it has come to this number. But as far as we see, starting from probably 2021 onwards, this number has increased again. It has probably reached 2,000 by now. Right? It has again increased, sociology. Success rates, if you ask me, from 2012 onwards, this optional has never gone down below 8% success. 8% से नीचे गया ही नहीं है. So success rate of this optional has been continuously above 8%, and the best it has performed was in 2015, 11.7% success था. 2015, 11.7. The most successful year for sociology. After this, the number of people who started choosing this as an optional started to increase bit by bit. Okay, that's how it has worked out for sociology as an optional. So if you take the average success rate of sociology all the years, starting from 2012 till 2020, it's 9.7 average. Okay, so it's a good optional. Which is the next optional you need? Commerce and accountancy, no pros and cons. The main thing for you is going to be whether you have a background. If you have a background, then check the PYQs 60%. 60%, because commerce and accountancy you don't find the coaching classes basically. That is why you should be ready with 60% content. If you are ready with 60% content, the next thing you are supposed to do is, you are supposed to seek help. Or professor maybe. Seek help from them. Check whether they will be available to help you for the rest 40%. If yes, go ahead with it. So first rule is 60%. 60-65% content, if you already know, stick with it. If you are not knowing 60%, so sir, how many years paper? Just check 2 to 3 years paper, that is sufficient. 2-3 years papers, 60 to 65%, if you are already comfortable with, contact any professor who you are comfortable with, ask them whether they will be able to aid you. If yes, go with that option. Otherwise, no. Understood? Which is the next optional? Anthropology or PSIR? PSIR. PSIR. Political Science and International Relations. The first advantage of this is the overlap with GS2 paper. GS2 which part? International relations. That is the first advantage. International relations becomes very easy. The second thing, the paper 2 is interesting for most of the people actually. Paper 2 of PSIR. It is very, very interesting. Why is it very, very interesting? Because it is related to international relations. Okay, all the events that are happening internationally and the relationships of India with the rest of the world. Actually, international relations are nothing but the continuation of what? World history. Whatever has happened in the world in the past, the continuation of that itself is international relations. Okay, so that's why it is very interesting. Paper 2 is very, very interesting. Paper 1, it depends on the person actually. If you like thinkers, right, then yes. If you don't want to learn about the thinkers, their perspectives and all, then it is going to be difficult. It's going to be a very difficult, road. PSIMA, you have many thinkers actually. You have to learn about the thinkers, right? So their theories, their perspectives on various issues. So that you have to learn. A thinker, related to a thinker, there will be 2 to 3 classes per thinker. Just like if we talk about Weber, 2-3 classes. Same thing with sociology also. Sociology also you have thinkers. So it will take 1.5 class per person, per thinker. Okay. That is paper 2. And then analytical in nature, in the sense you have to apply your brains a bit. I think, sir, sociology no need to apply brains, you have to apply, but relatively you have to apply more here, relatively. It is more analytical in nature, especially paper 1. Paper 1 is more analytical. Okay, whenever you try to write an answer, you have to think quite a lot. See, it's not like you sit, the moment you see the question, you will be able to write something. Sociology, you can do that. You will not get marks, that is secondary. Right? You will not get marks just because, sir, I don't know the answer to this question, I will write something because I know this topic. You will not get marks under that situation. No subject, you will get the marks for such things. You will get the marks only when you write particular answers. For your satisfaction, you can do. Many times it happens, you have seen a question, you don't know anything, you have written something. Why do you do it? Because you feel good. Evaluator feels bad, but you feel good. That is why you write. Okay, so it will not have any advantage doing these things. Analytical in nature, relative to what? Your sociology. And then people who love history, politics, for them paper 1 is enjoyable because it has a part related to political history. Political history part is there, which is interesting in paper 1. And apart from this, PSIR, the nature of questions has been stable questions, especially paper 1. Paper 1, stability of questions is there. Paper 2, obviously it is international relations, there is a lot of dynamism. Okay. Now, cons of this paper, the first con is the twisted questions. Twisted questions requires your analytical ability to understand the question as to what the question is actually asking. It takes some time to decipher the question. This is the first one. Secondly, success rate. Sir, what about success rate? Has been shaky. कभी ऊपर कभी नीचे, कभी ऊपर कभी नीचे. And that was mostly, that shaky nature was only for 3 years actually. 13, 14, 15. 2013, 14, 15. During that period, the success rate had fallen. As in, it was around 6% to 6.78%, 3 years. After that, it has recovered. So, it is around 8 to 9% as of now. Last 4 years, as in 2016 se leke, it is around 8 to 9% itself. The number of people who choose this as an optional, it was pretty less. Earlier, it was in the range of 600, 700, 800. Now it has increased 1200, 1300, 1600. It is in that range. Average, if you take PSIR starting from 2012, it is 8%. What about sociology? How much was it? 9.7%. It is 8%. 8.05% since 2012. That is the success rate of this optional. Syllabus is lengthy relatively, but on paper the syllabus is small. On paper, when you open the syllabus, you feel like, oh, that's all. Now when you start studying, it is more, because they will mention probably one thinker name, they will leave it there. Now about the thinker you have to study for 2 classes, no? Yes, on paper it is small, but syllabus is lengthy. See, if you ask me, what about sociology? Sociology also syllabus is lengthy, but you don't feel it because you already know most of the stuff in that. The only subject where actually the syllabus is relatively less is anthropology. Actually, relatively less syllabus is anthropology. As in, sir, by how much? Probably some 5 to 6 classes. 5 to 6 classes, not more than that. Do not be of the impression that when I say syllabus is small, it doesn't mean some 20% lesser. No. I mean to say 4 to 5 classes probably. That's it. That difference would be there. Anthropology gets over generally 4 to 5 classes early. That's because syllabus is relatively small, smaller. But when I say relatively smaller, it is not 10, 20%. Okay. Paper 1, no room for innovation in answers. You can't write innovative answers in paper 1. Even in paper 2 also you can't write innovative answers. It is more like, as I told you, it's political history continuation. So can you change something in history? No. What is there? You have to state a fact. Understood? This is about your political science and international relations. You might think that, sir, you said that you will help us choose an optional. You are creating more confusion by telling pros and cons of every optional. I am just giving you an idea as to what each optional is. Based on that, see what your strengths are. Based on your strengths and weaknesses, choose an optional. Okay. The next one is anthropology. Less time required to cover the syllabus. When I say less time, not very less time, relatively less time. Relatively less time required to cover the syllabus. limited sources to refer to. Why? Impact of current affairs is very, very negligible. Limited sources. Not many sources you have for this optional. So, sir is going to give some sources. You get ready with those sources only. Nature of the questions, stable. Stable nature of questions. Stability. It's more factual than analytical actually. This subject is more factual. More factual. Overlap? Overlap? Anywhere? Anywhere? Overlap? I think very small part of society, I would say. Related to society, a small part. Sir, will it be helpful in essay? What about PSIR? Is it helpful in essay? Probably you can bring a thread of international relations in your essay somewhere. Apart from that, I don't see much impact of PSIR on your essay. Okay. Here and there you can make mentions, right? You can't bring a perspective from PSIR. You can only, here and there one sentence you can add with the knowledge of PSIR. Society is where it can be helpful. Apart from that, anthropology, I don't see any place where it can be useful. Essay also, as I told you, the knowledge of anthropology will help you add some pointers here and there. Okay. Cons. कॉन्स में सोशियोलॉजी और एंथ्रोपोलॉजी दोनों का है ये. यू कैन राइट इट फॉर सोशियोलॉजी एज वेल. Risk of becoming a target. What is the risk of becoming a target? You don't know when the paper is going to get difficult. Right? When I say they are going to make the paper difficult, trust me, it will be very difficult. I'll tell you why. 2012 psychology paper was the toughest after or before. After that point in time, 2012 is like 12 years before, right? 12 years you look at the papers. Before that also you look at all the papers. You can't find such a difficult paper ever. In the sense, when I say difficult, sir, how is it difficult? Say for example, difficult nature will be like this. You have learnt a concept where sir has given it as an example. He has given it as an example. So, example runs into 2 lines, 2-3 lines it runs into. 2-3 lines if you write, how many marks you will get? Probably 1 mark. So, your preparation has been for 1 mark. If they ask you for 30 marks, the same. Your preparation is for 1 mark. They have asked on this example, they have asked it for 30 marks. Now tell me, how will you prepare? That is, see, when you look at the paper, you feel like, I know this, I have heard of this. You have heard of this, but they have asked you for 20 marks, 30 marks. That's how it becomes difficult. Okay. So, there was one funny story about optionals. There was one literature subject called Pali. Okay. Pali literature was there. It was 10-12 years ago. It was the easiest optional. So, it was like normal thing. You have to choose 2 optionals. One optional they used to choose. The other optional, because instead of choosing any other optional, I will choose Pali. Anybody can choose Pali. It is also Indian language. People used to choose Pali. The advantage of Pali was that the question used to be the same. The answers also used to be the same. Say for example, I don't know anything about Pali. I start preparing with Pali language. You have to write it in Hindi basically. So I start learning. Question. Answer 10 marker. You have to write 1.5 page. One more question. Probably 2 pages, 3 pages you have to write. So I have prepared in this manner. There are a set of questions. If I get this question, I will write 2 pages. If I get this question, I will write 3 pages. Because if I make the change in the question, I will not be able to answer. That's how I have learned the subject. See, because it is a different language altogether. Now people prepared like this. I think it was in 2011 if I am not wrong, 2011, 2012 I guess. What UPSC did was, many people were using this strategy, and questions also used to come like this itself. 10 marker used to come for 10 marker itself, 20 marker, 20 marker itself. That year what UPSC did is, they started asking a 20 marker for 5 marks. I know 3 pages content, but I don't know to write it in 1 page. Sir, how is that possible? See, it's as good as if I give you 10 pages and ask you to write within 1 page, summarize, you will find it difficult even in English. And that is a language I have learnt recently. Now you are asking me to write it in 1 page. Will I be able to do it? That paper became difficult that year. Many people abandoned that optional. They are like, no, it was a wrong strategy. But it worked for almost like some 3-4 years. It was, 3, 4, 5 years it worked, that strategy. Okay. So all things keep happening in relation to UPSC. You have different kinds of people preparing for the examination, different strategies and different outcomes. Okay. Risk of getting targeted is there for this as well as sociology. And then there is some content related to biology here. Scientific names, scientific terminology, biological terminology is there. Now probably that may not suit some people. They might find it difficult. So they have this aversion from childhood. If there is some scientific names, I don't like it. For those people it may be a bit difficult. Apart from this, there are some diagrams you are supposed to draw. When I say diagrams, it's not like you have to draw beautifully. All I mean to say, if you write a hand, it should be a hand, not a leg. That's all. Simple. If you draw a hand on paper, it should look like a hand. It should not look like head, right? It should not look like a leg. Basically, it should look like a hand itself. Diagrams means to that level, right? So some people do not have artistic fingers. You can't help them, right? Those people, you have to be a bit wary about this subject. And innovative answer writing does not have much room. Innovative answer writing you can't do, right? Basically whatever you have learnt, you have to write the same thing in this particular subject. So PSIR, there is a bit. Sociology, there is more room actually for innovation. Here, less room for innovation. So success rate we spoke of. Did we speak about anthropology success rate? No, right? Okay. The best year for anthropology as an optional was 2015, 14.8%. That is when people started choosing this as an optional more. Think about it. There used to be 500 plus people who used to choose this as an optional before 2015. 2015 mein 14.8% success rate. Everybody started running towards anthropology. And now the number stands at 1200, 1300. It was at 500. That is why I told you, risk of being targeted. See, all of a sudden people started shifting towards one particular optional. Yes? So, average success rate of anthropology 10.28. Average. Is it more than sociology? Yes, it's more than sociology. Average.
Sir, in the main paper, can we like draw diagrams with pencil or should we use only one pen or
Pen.
only one
Pen, pencil, anything is fine. But usually you don't have time to change the pens and all. So generally you draw it with the pen itself. Pencil, yes, if you are, when you look at the questions, out of the 20 questions you are supposed to answer, you already have decided that I don't know one answer, which means you have 7 minutes extra. So there you can use the pencil probably. Okay.
The pens also like black pen also can use.
Yes, absolutely, no problem. Practice with one particular pen itself, one particular type of pen itself from the start. Do not keep changing pens. If you are using a particular pen now, use the same pen till the end. It matters. You may think, sir, how does that even matter? It is not college exam, right? It matters. Use the same pen till the end. All practice should happen with the same pen. It's very, very important. On that particular day, you are using a new pen, there's no proper grip, you don't have the practice, your hand starts to hurt. All these things really matter. At that point, the discomfiture you feel for probably 10 seconds will have the impact on at least 2 to 3 answers. At least 2 to 3 answers you will have that impact. So every answer you are losing 1.5 mark. Yes, that is why practice with the same. This thing should not be an issue when you are writing the exam. So we call them as extraneous factors, extraneous variables. As much as possible, control the extraneous variables. Extraneous variables like before entering the examination hall, you should not be thinking, what if I feel like drinking water? Yes, should I go? So carry a water bottle, right? What if I am wearing a watch? Will they ask about it? First check which watch is allowed. Yes, all these things should not be the factors before going to the examination. All these are extraneous factors. You should eliminate them. Okay. Next. Psychology. And same is true for philosophy as well. Psychology, philosophy. Sir, what is the difference between psychology and philosophy? On this side, if we say it is subjectivity, this side we say objectivity. All your math and your physics, chemistry, everything will fall very, very close to probably 99% objective. That is your math, physics and everything. When I say subjectivity, very close to subjectivity extreme would be your philosophy. So, subjectivity and objectivity. Subjectivity is about something that varies from person to person, subject to subject it varies. Okay. That is why what is right according to philosophy is not there. What is right according to philosophy? The truth varies from philosopher to philosopher. What is a good life? What is good life? It varies from person to person. Some person says having a lot of money is good life. Another person says, just having enough food in my life is good life. Another person says everybody is happy around me, that is good life for me. Yes, that varies from person to person. That is subjectivity. The truth varies from person to person here. It is all about perspectives. Yahan pe 1 plus 1 is 2 according to her. 1 plus 1 is 2 according to this person. If I say 3, you say it is wrong. It is objective truth. That's where math, physics and everything is there. Okay? You have the middle part. All the subjects, any subject you bring will be on this spectrum, either on this side or on this side. Sir, where do we place other subjects? Say for example history. Where do you place history? This side or this side? Objective. Is it objective? History objective. There are various histories written as well. History में perspectives होता है. For example, the revolt of 1857. We call it as freedom struggle. The other person says it is a revolt. It's perspective. Yes? You put it close to this side. You put history here. Psychology, where do we put it? We put here. It's a scientific discipline. Though the roots are in philosophy, it's a scientific discipline. So it comes on this side of the spectrum. So it is more science than a what? Philosophy. So that is why in some places psychology is taught as a science subject, in some places it is taught as an arts subject. You have BA in psychology, MA in psychology. You have BSc and MSc in psychology as well. So that's how psychology is. Psychology, philosophy, that's the difference. Now, pros and cons. Pro, very highly relatable. Probably that is the con of it as well. Very highly relatable. The main problem with psychology is if you are learning something, if I am speaking about a disorder, these are the symptoms of a disorder. You might think, I think I also have this. Right? Now, because you are thinking about these things, the subject becomes a bit more difficult. Why? Because you are investing a lot of energy there. Everything I tell you, you feel like, this has happened in my life. Yes? So, because of that highly relatable nature, it sometimes becomes difficult as well. This is the pro, and it can be a con as well for some. Second advantage of this paper, this particular subject, is paper 2. There is only one book. There is no other book. So it's been there for a long time, as in the subject has been there for a long time, but so far one authoritative textbook is there for paper 2. Third pro, as usual, current affairs, no link. If you ask me about the current affairs link for this subject, probably forcefully you have to create a link. While giving example or something, you have to create a link. Otherwise, very rarely, very, very rare. Dynamism is less because the acceptance of research is also lesser. In India also, research does not happen related to psychology. Not much research happens in India. Why does it not happen? Because of the stigma attached to psychological problems. Say for example, some kid has a psychological problem like autism, or some kid is having a disability related to studying, right? So if the kid is not able to read, write properly, it is a psychological problem. What will the parents do? In India at least, this kid, useless kid, it does not study at all. There is no recognition of psychological problems. That is why research also does not happen, has not progressed in India. Now, yes, to an extent, people are becoming aware about the psychological problems. You think about it. Speak about depression for two people who are at least 2 generations older to you. Tell them about depression. They'll be like, ये क्या होता है? What is this? This is stupid. It's not that it did not exist. It existed, but recognition was not there. Understood? So now there is recognition, and research does not happen much in India, mostly abroad. Understand and move on. That is the pro. As in, these two subjects, if you understand right, whatever you write will be right. So, understand it rightly, then whatever you write will be considered right. That is the rule for these two subjects and ethics. Understand it right, write anything you want after the understanding, it will be considered right. There is no standard answer as such. You can connect whatever you want on the basis of your understanding, create an answer, it is acceptable. That's how this subject is. Now disadvantage, we will come to the disadvantage. I told it so easily, understand and move on. Understanding is difficult. Okay, the first step of understanding is relatively difficult. More so for this subject, philosophy. Psychology is still easier to understand, but philosophy is more difficult to understand. That is a one. Second, more cognitive resources are required. As in, if you are able to sit down and study sociology, anthropology and PSIR for, let's say, 4 hours, then your brain will say, stop it, enough for today. Psychology, it will be like after 2.5, 3 hours, done, enough for today. So the application of cognitive resources is more, because you will be relating at every point. At every point you will be thinking, this has happened, this might happen in my life as well, because it is the study of individuals, that is why, just because of that reason. See, in sociology you will be studying about society. You are only a small part of the society, you will be thinking, this happens. In anthropology you study about communities. Again, it is somewhat away from the person. Political science, it is related to politics here and the world. It is also away from you. But psychology is about the person itself. It's about you only. Now that becomes difficult, because you try to relate everything. Okay. And the next difficulty is understanding the questions is difficult. If you understand the questions and if your understanding is right, you can write outstanding answers. These are the cons of it. And now the success rate of this subject, the highest has been 15.8% in 2014. Sir, why 15.8%? I will tell you why. 2012 was the toughest paper. Everybody left. As in, whosoever had chosen psychology as an optional, everybody left. Like everybody, badmouths psychology as an optional. They started saying, no, never take this as an optional. So, think about it. There used to be 350 people choosing this optional in 2012, right? 350 people. Today, the number has come down to 150, 160. 1 year, the impact of one bad year. Okay. So, 2012 wo hua, everybody left, very few people remained. UPSC gave a simple paper. Success rate increased. Understood? So, average success rate, and there was one more year which was very successful. This happens because of what? Paper becoming easier. After a very tough year, people leave the optional. Now they make the paper easier so that, to attract people again. So 2016 again, it was 15.6. The average success rate of this paper for all the years put together is 10.7%. And this is not the right measure. Why? Because the number of people choosing this optional has reduced in the later part, right? But generally, not many people choose this as an optional. Not many people choose this as an optional. Why don't they choose? Because of the nature of the subject. Okay, nature of the subject in the sense you have to study less only, but understanding, right? If you are able to, if you have the confidence to understand the subject, then go ahead with it. This is about psychology. Anything you want to ask? Anything? Public administration.
What about the success rate of civil engineering? What about the success rate of this engineering subject?
Engineering subject, no? I'll just check if I have it. Which engineering? Civil engineering, is it? 146 people wrote it as an optional and 15 people, that is 10.3%. But again, remember that rule, okay? Any other subject you want the success rate?
So management.
Management ka success rate tha 54 people appeared, 6 people cleared. 54 and 6. That's around 10.5, 11%. Public administration. Easy to comprehend, easy to understand. As you can know, ki the application of this subject is going to be in your polity, essay, to an extent it will be helpful, ethics to an extent. Psychology ka application, where is the application of psychology? Ethics paper, 3 chapters of ethics paper, and then essay, part 2 essay, second essay, complete. You can always give new dimensions to your essay using 2 papers actually. One is psychology, the other one is your political science. Using political science and psychology, you can give new perspective to an essay. As in, other people will not have written that perspective, but you can give that perspective with those optionals. Philosophy also. People with philosophy optional can give a new perspective in an essay, right? One extra paragraph they can write. And then success rate is an advantage for this optional. It is both theoretical and factual. Both elements is there. But there are some cons. This is the reason why we don't have this as an optional here. This particular reason. You should have solid current affairs. Solid current affairs of 2 years, not 1 year. Sir, why solid current affairs of 2 years? Because in almost every question you are supposed to give some examples. When you give some examples, for that particular concept you have to give an example. From where will you give? Something which is in current affairs. But that thing has not happened in the last year. It has happened 1 year prior maybe, but you have to write an example. Where will you write the example from? Only when you are aware you can write an example. And they have this bad tendency in this particular paper to ask questions from past. Past as in 2 years ago or 3 years ago something has happened, they consider that to be recent and they expect you to know it. So that's a con. So past current affairs related question they can ask because it is current affairs loaded paper. And veterans will be there. You will find quite a lot of veterans. So some old horses who have been preparing for 4, 5, 6 years, they will be there in this optional as well. And there was 1 year, not 1 year, I think 2, 3 years were there as far as we have seen. New areas, they ask questions from new areas. That I was telling all the time, stability of questions, right? There it is problematic. Newer areas of questioning. Last year they had asked, let's say in one particular area for a 10 marker. We expect the same area to have 10 marker itself, but they ask 25 marker, 30 marker. Now that becomes problematic. So your preparation has to be dynamic as well in the same manner. You should be ready for, basically for every topic you should be ready for 30 marks basically. Then it works. Okay. So this is about public administration. When we look at the success rate, in 2012 the success rate was 5.1%, 2013 6.2, 2014 5.3. After that it picked up. After that it picked up. It has been 8, 9, 10 even. Okay. So average for this subject has been 7.9. Average success rate for this particular subject, public administration. So anybody who is thinking of public administration, I would say, you can go with PSIR as well, which is pretty much on similar lines. This subject we generally do not recommend, sir teaches it, right? So you have Pawan sir, he teaches public administration, but he denies it for this reason itself. He says, don't go for public administration for this reason itself. The reason being this part. Freshers find it difficult. You get 1 or 2 years experience, then yes. After that you can. Okay. So when are you supposed to choose sciences or engineering? Whenever you have a very strong background, exceptional interests, right? Remember this. If you are choosing sciences, civil engineering, yes, if you are choosing sciences, always remember, the split has to be like this. The amount of time you spend should be like this. If other people are spending GS4 also 100 units of energy here and probably some, let's say out of 100 units they are spending some 50 units here and another 50 units for optional and essay. Who is this? This is normal student. Normal student, you are also normal. I mean to say normal student, they have chosen different optional, not sciences. But if you have chosen science, any science as an optional, then this 50-50 has to change. This should become probably 35, this should become 65, this 15 increase should be for optional. More efforts on optional, because when you lose very badly. But when you come out with flying colors, it is going to be because of optional only. It's not going to be because of GS. So basically all I mean to say is people who are choosing sciences as an optional, you can sideline general studies in main examination to an extent. You can keep aside general studies and study optional. Done. Nobody chose literature as an optional, but still I will tell you 3 boxes to tick. What is the first box? Second box? Grammar. Third box? What is the third box? Speed. Speed equivalent to that of English. 3 things. Do you need a strong vocabulary? Not required. Not a very strong vocabulary is required for the literature optional. Normal language is also fine. Normal language. But don't write it wrongly. Okay. Now, sir, why do people shift from one optional to another optional all of a sudden? On what basis? On what basis? On the basis of which optional subject secured first rank. Right? The first rank person, which optional he had chosen. On the basis of that, many people make a decision. When you look at the success rate or the first rankers optional over the years, just think about it. 2023, it was electrical engineering. 2022, PSIR. I'll just write electrical, PSIR. I'll go backwards. History. Anthropology. Public administration. Mathematics. Kannada literature. Political science and international relations, entry 2, PSIR. Geography. Economics. Economics and Malayalam literature. Medical science and psychology. Public administration and law. And then psychology and public administration. And then you have public administration and Urdu literature. And then zoology and psychology. And then electrical engineering and mathematics. This is from the year 2006 onwards. 2006 onwards, upwards till 2023. ठीक है? Now tell me, which optional is good? Now tell me which optional is good. You have all the optionals here. Yes, you have all the optionals. Almost all the optionals you have. Now tell me, which one to choose? You know the pros and cons also. Take time. Take time and decide. If you are still in doubt, read one chapter. Read one chapter and then make a decision. Do not ask anyone. I am telling you, do not ask anyone. I am telling you this because if you make the decision, if you take the responsibility, you will study. You will study if you take the responsibility. See, the preparation for optional is more like, you learn something here in the class, you go home, you should be ready to search. You should be ready to, search for more. I am not saying the same thing about general studies. I am talking about optional. You should have the interest to learn more about it. The things you are supposed to do related to optional. Until and unless you do this, it doesn't matter which optional you choose. It really doesn't matter. Any which ways you are not going to clear. If you don't do the following. 1. PYQs. 2. Your own handwritten notes should be there. Your own handwritten notes. Sir, how do I create? Class notes plus standard books, whichever are mentioned, plus probably if material is provided by the respective faculty. All three put together, you are supposed to create a very comprehensive notes. I am not talking about short notes. Short notes is only for general studies. For optional, you have to create your own comprehensive notes. Even as you prepare your comprehensive notes, side by side, keep writing answers for PYQs. To start with, keep a target of last 5 years. Even as the chapter gets completed, go to relevant questions related to that chapter from PYQs, answer all of them. They should be going on in tandem, side by side. Once this is done, this comprehensive notes, you are supposed to reduce it into short notes. Sir, this is all double work, sir. Okay, there are a lot of questions. We'll try to answer them first. So, this is related to what you are supposed to do. There are some questions, let's answer them. Is there any institute to teach medical science? No, sir. And then you have, sir, to what extent is the grammar involved in literature? Is it only seen in sentence formation or typical grammar based topics are involved? This is a good question. So, literature subject, is there anything related to technical aspects of literature, for example, grammar related? Do you have to learn about Sandhi, Samasa, all these things? Yes, you have to. You have to. In paper 1, it will be a part. Okay. And then what about the success rate in literature, sir? Literature, it varies from subject to subject actually. I will tell you, I will give you the data related to, I thought literature students are not there. Literature, the success rate has been highest for Kannada literature. 124 people wrote, 17 people were recommended, 13% success, 13.7%. Second best is Malayalam literature. That is 105 people wrote, 13 people selections. And next, Hindi literature. I told you, right? Hindi literature, it is difficult. Quite. Hindi literature, 191 people, 13 recommended, 6.7, 6.8%. And then Urdu literature, 18 people, 2, 11%. Out of 18 people, only 2. And then you have Manipuri, 7 people wrote it, 0. Marathi, 6 people, 0. Oriya, 3 people, 0. Sindhi, 0. Bengali, 0. Okay, Tamil, 77 people, 5 people selections. It is 6%. Gujarati, 85 people, 3% selected, 3.5%. So best performing 2. Kannada, Malayalam. Right? Anybody? Kannada? Kannada? Who knows Kannada here? How many people know Kannada? These many people know Kannada. Not even one person is choosing. Malayalam? How many people know Malayalam? 2 people. Okay. Sir, what about psychology? Psychology, I told you, we just explained about it. Sir, what about public administration? What is the success rate? That's done. Sir, mechanical engineering. What about mechanical engineering? How is it? How good is it? Mechanical engineering, success rate is 5.6%. Again, the same rules apply for all engineering subjects and sciences. Same rule. 60% if you are aware of, or engineering subjects you have an advantage, you have institutes for that. As in, to get the classes you have institutes, even if you don't know 60% of the stuff. For 3 subjects, electrical, mechanical, civil, you can always go to one of the IES classes. They will train you for that, if you are interested only. If you are not interested, drop it. Don't think of self preparation, it's going to be difficult. It is going to be difficult. So standard books for sociology. So related to sociology, the introduction class of sociology would help. Anthropology, same. What is the success rate in Kannada literature? I just told you. So please give information about literature optional. Done. Can you please give that? Yes. Yes, done. I think we have resolved all the queries. Yes.
With the background of BBA and MBA, is there anything else to check other than 60%?
Nothing. If you are able to get any help from your professors, just go ahead with it. No problem. Okay. English literature, I told you, it will run a difficult, there is a difficulty with English literature and Hindi literature, right? So you just have to look at the syllabus once, see how you feel about it, because it is quite vast, right? If you have already studied about it, then yes. If you have done your masters in English literature maybe, then it is fine. Otherwise, it's going to be difficult. English, Hindi, dono. It's going to be difficult. It's not as easy. Okay. Yes, anything else you want to ask?
So the English and the other regional language are to just qualifying, or do they also adding our marks and ranks in the mains?
Oh, in the mains. So it is just qualifying. The 2 subjects, the first 2 papers you are asking about, right? They are only qualifying in nature. So that is 300 marks. So one paper will be, let's say, Telugu or Kannada. It will be for 300 marks. Another one is English paper, that is for 300 marks. You are supposed to get 75 in each of these papers. Do we have to know grammar here? Not required. Grammar related stuff, they will have asked some questions. Probably some 20 marks they will ask related to grammar. Okay. Within grammar also there are some questions which are fill up the blanks, like they will have given 5 options, right, 5 words they will have given, and they will give 5 sentences with blanks. So you have to fill the right word in the blanks. So there will be one such thing, and then there will be a essay topic, common essay topic, very simple topic on which you are supposed to write 2.5 pages of essay. And then there will be something related to precise writing. They will give one entire page or 1.5 page. You have to make it smaller, summarize it, right? You have to write it more precisely. And then there will be comprehension, reading comprehension, a passage, and related to that some questions you have to write the answers. And then you will have something related to translation. So English to Kannada, and then Kannada to English translation. So that's how it is. That's it. So this is fairly easier in the sense, I would say you have to stick to minimum things. Like per page, I will not do more than 2 to 3 mistakes. Okay. If you are making more than 2 to 3 mistakes, it will send a very wrong message to the person who is evaluating. Nobody fails in this paper. If you fail, it's going to be in this paper. Qualifying paper, if you are very, very poor in what? Your language. People fail in this. They are so brutal sometimes. How much is required? 75. They give you 74. Think about it. A qualifying paper, they give you 74. They are very brutal. Sir, don't they have heart? They have heart, but you don't, because you have written, whatever you have written has many mistakes. See, if a person is forced to give 74, it means you have hurt him badly, right? In the language he loves, right? See, if you get 60, you understand, okay, I am not good in the subject, you also know I have to put efforts. When they give 74, what do you feel? The main problem with these two papers is that when you fail in this, any one of these, you don't get the marks of other subjects. You have written all the papers, 9 papers you have written. Out of 9 papers, you failed in this paper. The other 7 papers, marks are not disclosed. You don't know how your mains examination went also. So that for next year, what to do? You don't know. Which paper I have to improve? You don't know. So that is why make sure that this is clear. Now, sir, how to know whether I am good or not? A simple exercise. Whichever language you are choosing, Indian language you are going to choose, write 2 to 3 pages of essay on any topic. Simple topic. Which is a topic which you wrote essay on all your life? Pollution. हमको पता था. So environmental pollution, on this topic, write 3 pages. Write 3 pages and show it to someone who knows the language. Okay. Ask them to evaluate. See how many mistakes are there. If there are very negligible mistakes, like 1 or 2 mistakes in 3 papers, don't worry, you will be able to get through. You will be able to get through. No doubt at all. But if there are 7, 8, I have seen people who think that they are good in the language, and when they present the paper to me, I will be able to point out. So Hindi, Telugu, I can point out the mistakes. Also Kannada, I can point out the mistakes. These 3, and English, any which ways, doesn't matter. These 3 subjects. So if you are able to write 2 or 3 pages, if you have doubts, you get it to me, I will be able to check once. Okay, I will tell you, whether you are supposed to improve or not. So improvement is only this. The only thing you can do is every day or every 2 days once, you just read through the newspaper. The same thing you rewrite. Do it for 15-20 days. I think you will be able to improve automatically. You will be able to pick up the language. Okay. Next.
So, in Sanskrit subject, we're supposed to write in
What is it?
Sanskrit.
Huh.
We are supposed to write in English.
Hindi or English?
English.
English, is it? In school it was English.
School and college.
So we have to check. We have to check the script as to, I think it is Hindi. You're supposed to write in Hindi. Here. Yes. Which is the language you are talking about? Which language do you? Yes, scheduled languages only. So there's a list. You just have to check the list. And which state are you from? Arunachal Pradesh. You just have to check whether there is a, for some states, they have clearly mentioned there is no need for you to write this paper. For some states, this paper is not required, especially northeast states. Some of the states, it is not required. Only this paper. This paper is not compulsory for some states. Okay, you have to check that provision.
Sir, you told like writing short notes is mandatory for revision at the end. So, sir, due to lack of time, we are not writing. Is it better to just revise multiple times or?
Okay, I'll tell you what. How many pages does polity run into? Indian polity run into? 700 pages. Plus, how many pages does your notes run into? Probably some 200, 250 pages, let's say. So let's say 300 pages. 1000 pages. Every time you want to revise. So first time when you revise, or first time when you study, let's say it took some 15 days. Okay. Second time to revise, it will take 7 days. 1000 pages it is. Third time if you want to revise, probably 4 or 5 days. Fifth time the days do not reduce because the number of pages are more. Yes. Now what I am saying is, when you do the first revision itself, if you are able to reduce this, instead of taking 15 days or 7 days to revise, take 12 days to revise the first revision. Reduce it to 100 to 120 pages. When you are able to do this, your second, third, fourth revision will take probably 2 days, 3 days. It will be done. You will be able to make more number of revisions later. The first time it is going to take a lot of time and energy. Okay. See, anything that is difficult in the starting will bear fruit later. Anything that is easy in the starting will make life difficult later. Yes. Remember this. This is important because if you want to make more revisions, this is the only tool that is available.
But in Indian polity, most of the things are in point wise. Everything is important. How can we make notes?
Don't make points. No. What did I tell you? I asked you to make short notes using keywords only. Say for example, Article 117. What is it related to? Financial bills? Article 112. Annual financial statement. That's it. Just write this and leave it. Do not write the entire sentences. If you write the entire sentences, it's as good as you are writing everything again. Article 321, what is it related to? Right, just there. 123, 149, CAG, right? So, and then any article for that matter, you just write one word or two words. You will be able to recall rest of the stuff. Understood? So, when I say legislative powers of governor, don't write all the sentences. How many legislative powers are there? Let's say 5 or 6. Just mention one word for each. You will be able to recall. That's how you make the short notes. Understood? So, for one of the legislative power in the class, sir has mentioned some case, some example. Just write the keyword. Done. See, with less space, you will be able to recall better and you will be able to pick points to write answers. When it is 1000 pages, when you want to write an answer, your brain will not be able to, go through the pages so fast. When it is 100 pages, it is able to pick the pointers from every chapter. 1000 pages, think about it. Your brain will be like, this chapter you are thinking about it, the other chapter you have forgotten already. Understood? It's going to be handy, very handy. And think about it, 1000 pages per subject. You have 8 subjects to revise. Prelims examination is after 8 days. How will you revise? And different books. You have class notes plus standard book plus NCERT. How will you study? That is why short notes are helpful. It takes time, but when you complete the short notes, the pleasure you are going to derive from it, you feel like you have achieved something really fantastic, something great. You have done something great. And after that, every time you study, the amount of information that is going to sit in your brain is going to be humongous. Till that point, you feel like I have studied. See, I am not saying you are not putting the efforts. Your efforts will be like this. You have studied, you have spent hours studying. 15 days later, if I ask you which you thought you have learnt clearly, you will not be able to recall, sir. You will not be able to recall. So that happens because the memory does not get consolidated. When you do it the hard way, it will get consolidated. Done. Anything else? So, sir, I got 110 in SSLC marks in, okay, studied in Kannada medium. Can I choose Kannada literature, sir? Tell me. What did I tell you? Kannada literature? What is the rule? What is the rule? Those 3 boxes if you are able to tick, and if you have the confidence that I am going to manage writing Kannada or any literature subject at the speed of Kannada or at the speed of English, then you can go ahead with it. No problem with that. Telugu literature, as I told you, other literature subjects, the problem is, they might be very reluctant to give marks, or the people who are choosing literature as an optional, they are not choosing on the right guidelines. Right guidelines as in the 3 boxes. Maybe they don't tick one of the boxes and they have chosen. That is why they are not able to clear more in other in other languages. For example, Kannada and Malayalam, while the success rate for both of these is about 10. For all the other optionals, literature optionals, for example, Telugu was somewhere around 6%, right? 5.66%. Sir, why is it lesser? Though it is a regional language, why is it lesser? Probably the students who choose this as an optional, they might have chosen a different parameter to select. As I told you, the parameter has to always be whether you know the language. If you know the language well, then only choose an optional. Maybe here most of the students chose it out of what, love for the subject or love for the subject only. They did not know the language well, right? So if you know the language well, those 3 boxes if you are able to tick, just choose it. Literature. Just have a look at the optional syllabus once, see how much you know, whether you feel comfortable about those things, then go ahead with it. But these 3 boxes are must. It is not out of 3, 2 I am able to tick, 1 I will be able to manage. No. All 3 you should be able to tick now. You should be able to tick now. Then yes. So qualifying paper, any language, qualifying paper, either Kannada or Telugu, Malayalam, any paper, it is the same scheme. What is the scheme? 1 essay, 1 thesis writing, 1 translation, right? So same thing, it is same for all the subjects. Kannada literature, how to prepare? How to prepare for Kannada literature? You have some of the, classes done in Bengaluru, right? So you have to do a bit of research about it and join those classes. right? You can probably they provide it online as well, right? So you can take the classes from there. So it's not available here. So that you can do. So on your own, self preparation is difficult, right? Self preparation is easy for those people who have a background. As I told you, like if you have 60% preparation already done, preparation in the sense you know 60% of the content already, and the 40%, yes, you can prepare on your own, no doubt about it. But if you don't know anything, you know only 10% of what is there in the syllabus, then I would not suggest you to wait. If you go to the classes, things become easier. If you don't go to the classes, it prolongs your preparation, that's all. So what happens in 2 years may happen in 4 years. Okay, that thing. All right. Anything else? Shall we leave? I think there will be a form which will be rolled out for you guys. Okay, there will be a form that will be rolled out. You have to fill the form by selecting an optional, right? Choose only one optional, do not put two optionals there. And you can choose two optionals for now, but first day, I think access will be given to all the students. First 2 days, access will be given to all the students. You can sit in any of the classes you want. After the first 2 days, you see how it goes, how you feel, then you make the shift. Okay. So if you are in two minds, say for example, you have sociology, anthropology both on mind, sit one day in sociology class, one day in anthropology class. But what I am saying is, make the decision on your own. Do not discuss with anyone, right? Do not ask others' opinion. You make your decision. Clear? All right? Okay. Thank you. Have a nice day. Okay. Online people, anything? All right. Thank you.